Do you ever feel like you're stuck in the same place, paralyzed by the fear of making a mistake, failing, or not being good enough? Whether it's a career change, the end of a relationship, or an unexpected fresh start, the uncertainty can seem overwhelming. But what if I told you that your story is still being written, and that you have the power to change its course? Today, you'll discover how to overcome this fear, act with confidence, and create a future you really want. In this video, I'm not just going to give you motivational words, but real tools to transform your life. I'm going to show you examples of people who have overcome internal blockages and practical exercises that you can apply now to break out of the paralysis and take the first step. Because at the end of the day, fear only dominates those who choose not to act, and I'm going to show you how to turn this game around. Stay with me to the end. Have you ever felt that you're stuck, that your life isn't moving forward because fear is holding you back? Maybe it's the fear of changing careers, of ending a relationship that no longer makes sense, or even of starting something new with no guarantee of success. This fear is paralyzing. It makes you believe that the worst will happen, that you're not capable, that it might be too late. But what if I told you that your story is still being written, that you can rewrite it, turn the page, and start a new chapter right now? In this video, you'll understand why fear has so much power over you and, more importantly, how to overcome it to create the future you really want. And it's not just motivation, I'll give you practical exercises to apply today. So stay with me until the end. Fear is not just a passing feeling. It's your brain's defense mechanism, programmed to protect you from the unknown. But this protection often becomes a prison. Have you ever noticed how the mind tends to create the worst possible scenarios? As if changing jobs would mean failure, or trying a new relationship would end in disappointment. This happens because the brain prefers what's familiar, even if it's not the best for you. And then you get stuck in the same place, repeating the same patterns, feeling like you're living on automatic. But now I want you to stop and think. What if you carried on exactly as you are for the next 5 years? What would your life be like? This question is uncomfortable, but necessary. Because, often, the fear of change is great, but the fear of staying the same should be even greater. Now, let me tell you a story. There was a man who spent years unhappy in his job, but was terrified of resigning. The fear of failing, of not being able to support himself, of not knowing what would come next kept him stuck. Until one day, he asked himself a simple question: which is worse, the uncertainty of trying something new, or the certainty of living unhappily? And at that moment, he realized that the biggest risk wasn't changing, it was not changing. And when he finally found the courage to take the first step, he realized that the monster he had imagined was much smaller than it seemed. This could be your story. Fear always seems huge before you face it. But when you take the first step, it loses its power. The truth is that life doesn't come with guarantees. But if you wait until you feel 100% sure before you act, you'll wait forever. Now that you understand that fear cannot be the driver of your life, let's get down to the practical part. How do you overcome this fear in reality? First exercise, fear on paper. Take a notebook and write down exactly what you're afraid of. Don't just say, "I'm afraid of changing jobs." Write down the worst-case scenarios that your mind creates. Now look at each one and ask yourself, is this really likely or just an assumption? Often, you'll realize that your fear has no real basis, it's just an exaggerated thought. Second exercise, the first step. Fear paralyzes you because you feel you have to take a big leap. But what if you took just one small step instead? If you want to change careers, how about talking to someone who already works in the field you want? If you want to end a toxic relationship, how about starting to plan your independence? Small actions lessen the burden of change and show your brain that you are in control. Third exercise, the 5-second rule. When you feel afraid to act, your mind goes into self-sabotage mode. If you wait too long, you start to rationalize and give up. So, as soon as you feel the urge to act, count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And just do it. This prevents your mind from making excuses and keeping you in your comfort zone. Now, I want you to think, what would you do today if you weren't afraid? What's that decision you know you need to make, but have been putting off for ages? The truth is that fear will never disappear completely. But you can learn to act in spite of it. Your story is still being written, and you have the power to change its course at any time. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just need to start. Tell me in the comments, what fear are you going to face from now on? Let's go through this process together.